If you were to ask the residents of Hollow Creek what the town is most famous for, they'd give you the same answer every time: the night of the vanishing footprints. It's a story that parents tell their kids not to wander off after dark, a story that teenagers whisper around bonfires, and a story that, even decades later, still leaves seasoned detectives arguing over what really happened. Because in this case, the evidence doesn't just contradict witnesses. It contradicts itself. And the strangest detail of all? In the official case file, on page 47, there's a photograph, one that investigators still debate. It shows footprints leading toward the river, but none leading back. The Hollow Creek case began on the foggy night of October 14, 1998. At 7:42 p.m., 22-year-old college student Anna Talbot left her part-time job at a local bakery, stepped into the cold, and vanished before she was supposed to walk through her front door. She lived only a 10-minute walk away. A walk she had taken hundreds of times. But on that evening, Anna didn't come home. She didn't call. And her phone, an outdated flip model, was later found still sitting in her locker dead. At first, nobody panicked. Anna was responsible, but she wasn't the type to text every movement. Her mother assumed she stayed late. Her friends thought she'd gone out with someone. But by midnight, when Anna still hadn't appeared, her roommate called the police. The initial search was small. After all, 18 hours hadn't yet passed, and young adults disappear for short stretches all the time. But that changed at dawn, when two fishermen on the edge of Hollow Creek found something odd: a single sneaker lying on the riverbank, half buried in the mud. When officers arrived, they found more: Anna's bag, its strap torn, lying 3 meters away. But there was something else. Something everyone noticed immediately. The footprints. A line of single, clear tracks, unmistakably leading toward the edge of the river. And none coming back up. The police followed them until the last print simply ended, right where the water deepened. The obvious conclusion was drowning. Maybe Anna slipped. Maybe she was pushed. Maybe she panicked and ran into the river to escape someone. But there were problems with that theory. Big ones. For one, Anna hated water. She didn't swim. She avoided the river entirely. And the prints didn't show signs of running or struggle. They were calm. Even. Deliberate. And all of them belonged to one person. The next 48 hours became the biggest search effort Hollow Creek had ever seen. Police scoured the river with boats and divers. Volunteers combed the woods. Helicopters with infrared cameras scanned the area. But nothing, no body, no clothing, no sign of Anna, ever surfaced. And that's when the details started to get strange. The first inconsistency came from the weather report. Several officers remembered a heavy fog rolling in around 8:30 p.m., dense enough to blur the tree line. But according to the Hollow County Weather Archive, visibility that night was clear to moderate, between 7 and 10 p.m. No fog. No sudden change in temperature. Nothing that matched what patrol officers described. The second inconsistency came from the footprints themselves. The crime scene photographs clearly showed the prints pointing toward the river. But when the state forensic team arrived 12 hours later, they noted that the impressions looked too perfect. Almost pristine. As if they had been made after the night's dew. One expert suggested they could have been faked. But another argued they were genuine and matched Anna's shoe size. The lab report ended up inconclusive. Half the investigators believed the prints were real. The other half believed they were staged. And that set the tone for the rest of the case. As investigators expanded their search radius, they found the first real clue: a witness. An older man named Elliot Granger, who lived in a small cabin near the river. He insisted he heard a woman yelling around 8 p.m. Not screaming, yelling. Like she was calling someone's name. He couldn't understand what she said, but he was sure it was a woman. Two problems emerged. First, Elliot told police he heard the voice echoing from the opposite side of the river, the side where no footprints were found. Second, the time he reported, 8 p.m., was contradictory. Anna didn't clock out of work until 7:42 p.m. The walk home took at least 10 minutes. Reaching the river by 8 p.m. wasn't impossible, but it would require her to be moving unusually fast. Still, the lead wasn't dismissed. Officers canvassed the opposite bank but found nothing: no footprints, no disturbed foliage, no dropped belongings. But 3 days later, Hollow Creek received another twist: a second witness. This time it was a teenager named Maya Lawson, who said she saw someone standing on the bridge around 7:50 p.m. the night Anna vanished. A silhouette. Tall. Still. Watching the river. Maya didn't see the person's face, but she remembered one detail: they wore a long dark coat, even though the weather was mild. Investigators wondered whether this unknown figure could have seen Anna, or even interacted with her. But nobody on the bridge came forward. And security footage from the town's only bank, which faced the bridge from across the street, mysteriously failed to record anything between 7:45 and 8 p.m. The explanation? A camera malfunction. Of all the details in the case, that one still frustrates investigators the most. 5 days after Anna's disappearance, the most controversial piece of evidence surfaced. A small wooden charm, shaped like a bird, was found wedged between rocks near the riverbank, something her mother recognized immediately. Anna always kept it on her keys. Something her grandmother had given her when she turned 16. But the charm being at the river raised a question no one could answer. If Anna lost her bag near the bank, why was only the charm found separately? And if someone planted it, how did they know it was hers? A criminal profiler brought and later concluded that the charm made the scene look too arranged, almost symbolic, like someone wanted the river to be the definitive narrative. People don't arrange clues, one investigator responded. Movies do. Criminals don't care about symbolism. But others disagreed. They believed the charm might have been placed intentionally to bolster the drowning theory, or to distract from something else. The case was becoming a tug-of-war between two competing ideas. 1. That Anna drowned. 2. That someone wanted it to look like she drowned. 2 weeks into the investigation, the river began lowering due to a scheduled dam operation. If Anna's body was in the water, this would reveal it. But nothing emerged. Not a fragment of clothing. Not a bone. Not a trace. Medical examiners explained that the river's depth and current made it nearly impossible for a body to simply vanish. Even in worst-case scenarios, wildlife, currents, decomposition, something should have been found. Bodies don't disappear. Evidence doesn't evaporate. Unless it was never in the river to begin with. That realization sparked the relocation theory, that Anna's body, or Anna herself, had been taken somewhere else. One detective proposed a chilling idea. What if the footprints were leading toward the river because someone carried her there first, set her down, and then only walked her last few steps? But that theory collapsed when the search team confirmed that every print belonged to the same pair of shoes, Anna's shoes. So if someone staged the scene, they either wore her shoes or forced her to walk. Neither explanation made perfect sense. By the third week, national media had picked up the story. The Hollow Creek mystery became a headline. Where did Anna go? The vanishing footprints. Drowned, abducted, or something stranger? With pressure mounting, the police department released their official statement. No signs of foul play. But almost nobody believed it. Not Anna's family. Not the volunteers. And not the town. Especially when another strange detail surfaced. One nobody could explain. Officers reviewing the bakery's exterior camera footage noticed that at 7:41 p.m., 1 minute before Anna left, a car drove slowly past the shop. An older model sedan, unfamiliar plates, tinted windows. It passed once, and then again 12 minutes later. The second pass would have been long after Anna's disappearance, long after the time frame in which she could have been abducted outside the bakery. Was the driver searching for her? Was it a coincidence? Why didn't the car appear on any other cameras? The sedan was never identified, and no driver came forward. The case officially went cold 11 months later. No body. No suspects. No confession. No new evidence. But the debates only grew louder as the years passed. Some detectives argued Anna drowned and her body was swept beyond the search area. Others argued she was abducted, possibly by someone familiar enough with the town to bypass cameras and plant false clues. A few insisted it was a crime of opportunity, a passing stranger, like the driver of the sedan. And then there were the people who believed the footprints had been staged, and that Anna never reached the river at all. But one detail kept resurfacing. Something small. Something subtle. Something that bothered every investigator, no matter what theory they believed. The footprints leading to the river were perfectly normal. Same pressure, same depth, same gait. But the very last print, the one closest to the water, was noticeably deeper than the rest, as if Anna had paused, shifted her weight, and pressed harder into the mud. Or as if someone was standing behind her. That single detail divided the investigative team. Half believed it indicated hesitation. The other half believed it indicated restraint. But with no body and no concrete evidence, the Hollow Creek case slipped from national attention. New tragedies replaced it. New mysteries emerged. The world moved on. But Hollow Creek didn't. Every year on October 14th, Anna's family holds a small vigil near the river. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers attend. Some bring candles. Others bring flowers. And a few bring questions that may never be answered. Because the truth is, there are 3 possibilities, and none of them sit comfortably. Possibility 1. Anna walked into the river on her own. Intentional or accidental. But this theory fails to match her footprints, her personality, or the river's behavior. Bodies don't vanish. Possibility 2. She was abducted, either by someone she knew or by a stranger passing through. But no signs of struggle were found, no tire tracks, no drag marks, no witnesses, except for conflicting stories that don't line up in time or location. Possibility 3. The entire scene was staged. The footprints, the charm, the torn bag strap, deliberately placed to create a narrative investigators would follow while the real crime occurred elsewhere. It's the most disturbing possibility. Because it implies planning. Control. A deep understanding of how investigations unfold. And if that's true, then the person responsible may have walked right past the search teams. May have watched the river being dredged. May have stood among the volunteers. And no one would have known. Today, the Hollow Creek case remains one of the most debated unsolved disappearances in the region. New officers assigned to the department still request to read the file during training. Criminal psychology students still analyze the few pieces of evidence available. Internet forums still argue over theories, dissecting the photographs pixel by pixel. But the truth? No one knows what happened. Not for certain. All that remains is a timeline full of contradictions, evidence that points in multiple directions, and a last footprint pressed deeply into the mud, facing the water as if expecting something. Because sometimes, the most haunting cases aren't the ones with the most violence, but the ones with too little. Too little evidence. Too little clarity. Too little truth. And that's what keeps the Hollow Creek mystery alive. Not what we know, but everything we don't.